Call to order. The Meet and Discuss Board meeting of the Ambridge Area School District is held on Wednesday, January 8, 2020. This meeting is being held to go over the agenda for the regular monthly board meeting that will be held on Wednesday, January 15, 2020 at 7 p.m. in the High School Media Center. We've already completed the flag salute. I'll move on to notice. This meeting is being recorded for district purposes. It is or may be published in part or in its entirety on the district's website without the express permission of meeting participants. The opinions expressed by any member of the public do not necessarily reflect the view or opinion of the Ambridge Area School District, Board of School Directors, or the Ambridge Area School District, and are solely that of the speaker. The Ambridge Area School District Board of School Directors hereby expressly disclaims any and all responsibility or liability for any false, defamatory, or slanderous statements expressed by the speaker. Can I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Angus?
Here.
Ms. Gill? Here. Mrs. Kehoe?
Here.
Mrs. Mylan?
Here.
Ms. Pettigo?
Here.
Ms. Trimber?
Here.
Mrs. Fisher?
Here.
8 present.
Okay. Do we have any correspondence this evening, Madam Secretary? Moving on to student-teacher recognition.
None this evening, but next week we will.
Okay. Presentations.
None this evening.
Okay, move on to public comment regarding agenda items only. The Meet and Discuss meetings are open to the public. At this time, district residents may come forward to comment or ask questions on agenda items only. Each person must state their first and last name and address prior to speaking. Each person will be allowed 3 minutes and can speak only once during this half-hour period. There will be no discussion during this time, but any board member or administrator desiring to address questions or concerns may do so at the conclusion of the committee reports. Anyone? No? Okay, moving on to committee reports. Ms. Trimber?
Number 1 is the high school course of studies. It's recommended to ratify the approval of the 2019-2020 Ambridge Area High School course of studies. I understand we're recommending to increase it from 22.5 to 24.5 credits. I'm going to refer to Mr. King, if you could address this a little bit more, explain it to the
It
public.
was actually originally, according to our plan, to be 25.5 credits because we added a credit and a half of either business or STEAM-related classes, I should say, which would be your tech ed or business classes. But what I'm proposing, and also we would have had to have 4 math and 4 science classes. And what I'm proposing to keep it the same, where you have 3 math and 4 science, or 4 math and 3 science classes, and then we could either cut the amount of credits down to 24.5, or we could actually do it, cut the amount of credits down to 23.5, or we could cut it to 24.5 if we don't mandate that the 5 electives, have to be STEAM related. So for example, if you have a class, let's say it's a music class, that could count as one of those 5 credits instead of it being just your STEAM-related classes. If you remember, like when we presented about 5 years ago, we had probably the hour presentation where we did the different things, and we had our new STEAM program at the elementary school. But I believe that this will be a better way to allow our students to meet the career indicator standards that are set forth by the Pennsylvania Department of Education. And if you're aware of it, if you've seen our PA Future Index, the career indicator standards are now equally as important as your test scores. PDE is really pushing the trades or your skilled trades. And they even tell us at our meetings, unless you're going to be a dentist or a psychologist, the best way to get a job is to have a skilled trade, because you could be 22 years old making $100,000. Also, we were talking about getting rid of the senior project. Computer applications is now done at the middle school. So what we're going to do is that they would have a finance career preparation class in 9th grade. And then what we would do, they would start their career portfolio, which is a PDE mandate that they have to be done with by the end of 11th grade. And then that would count as basically that 1 credit that would take the place of your senior project. I know that's a lot. I mean, there's nothing in front of you, but that's what it is. Any questions on that? I'm sure you do, but.
We got that information.
Yeah, they have the chart.
Okay,
I sent them the
okay.
chart.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Number 2 is the JROTC field trip. It's recommended to approve Master Sergeant Thomas Short to take the JROTC unit to Parris Island, South Carolina for their annual citizenship development trip from February 24th through February 28th, 2020. Do we need to vote on this? No? Okay. So, all right. Next. I'm sorry, Terry.
We will next week.
Okay. Next is student discipline. It's recommended to ratify discipline agreement 2019-2020 relevant to middle school student effective December 12th, 2019. Number 4 is the Grand Canyon University affiliation agreement. It is recommended that the Ambridge Area School District enter into affiliation agreement with the Grand Canyon University. No cost to the district. Number 5, Grand Canyon University student teacher. It's recommended that Nicoletta Aloha, a student from Grand Canyon University, be student teaching at Economy Elementary for the spring semester, pending, of course, current clearances, drug screening, TB testing, and everything. Club formation, it's recommended to approve the formation of the Black Student Union Club at the high school. This club is an organization to promote the African American, Caribbean, and African culture and awareness of the high school and the surrounding community. Number 7 is the reinstatement of the club. It's recommended to approve the reinstatement of the Ambridge Area High School Forensic Club. It's a cross between a mock trial and a speech and debate club where students prepare, perform formal presentations to compete against students from other school districts. It's a minimum requirement is 15 and are signed up and interested in participating. Number 8, the JROTC. It's recommended that the tuition share for non-district students enrolled in the JROTC program for the 2020-2021 be reduced as followed: from $474 per class to $200, from $3,591 All-Day Leadership Academy to $2,000, from $6,257 Special Education Leadership Academy to $6,000. Transportation to be paid by the student's home district. And Mr. King, I'm going to refer to you if you would like to explain this maybe a little bit further. And what
These were reduced. Actually, the prices per class when I was high school principal were $150, and I believe it was $1,500 for the All-Day Leadership Academy. And what we would do, and it wasn't just JROTC, it was our calculus classes, our Calc AB, Calc BC, our physics mechanics, which is your physics 3, all our different classes. We used to have an RCI program, which has gone away. And then what happened, once that program got away, we would get federal money because this was the agreed upon, the amounts that I just mentioned were the agreed upon amounts from among all the schools in the BVIU. Now, the advantage that we had when we had this program is that we had more AP, we had more dual enrollment, and we had more college classes than any other school in the county. So what we did, we were getting tons of reimbursements for not just the JROTC, but all our programs. I think, and I can't, I'd have to do some research on it. We made about $170,000 from other districts because we were attracting kids from other districts. The RCI grant went away, and we had agreements, between superintendents, board members, that we would maintain these rates to still attract these kids from other districts. And then when we raised the rates, the other superintendents were like, well, we had this agreement that we could send our kid here for $150 a day, and then you just made it $300 a day. When I was high school principal, we had 150 kids from other districts taking classes here. Not all day. Not all of them were full day. Like the Leadership Academy, where they were here the entire day. They were also the single classes. We had a large group of kids from Hopewell coming in to take one class. When we jacked up those prices and basically they became angry and started to pull their kids out. So we're proposing these prices to try to establish this, and it would be beneficial for us and them, because now that we have NIMSY, we have a slew of new AP classes and dual enrollment classes in order to try to attract kids from other districts. Some of our classes, let's say they have 12 kids in them, there are room to put 5 or 6 kids in there, and then not only do those districts benefit, we also get some reimbursement for our general fund as well. So You know, it's something we could do a little bit more homework on it, but the sooner the better, because you want to start going to your meetings, selling them, meeting with other superintendents, and doing these different types of things. Now, the first year we did this program, like, we might have gotten 10 kids, but then we grew it until it was, I would be altering entire master schedules in the middle of September as a principal. So it is food for thought, and it's definitely something that you want to consider. And then your ROTC program at the time, I don't even know the total in the history of the program is like $5 million. You know, Academy and NCROTC scholarships. So there were a lot of benefits to this, a lot of benefits.
So who would be responsible, or who's gonna take the lead on, you know, if this is approved next week, going back out to our sister school districts and saying?
That would have to be me, because I know most of the superintendents, and it would be like more of my IU meetings, and then, you know, first I know I'm friends with a couple of them. We started out, okay, we won't do it again. You know, like I know that we jacked the price up, and then you got to see if there's interest. There's different things you need to do, but then you got to kind of repair that, or mend the bridge, or mend the fence, because these people are be like, well, we're going to jack up the prices, and then the kids, let's say she's here for 2 years, and then you're going to jack up the price, and they got to pull them back. You got to kind of stick to your word with them.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's outside of the box.
And we did it for years. It was something that we did for years.
Anybody else?
Thanks, Mr. Kane.
You're welcome.
Moving on to finance and budget, Ms. Pedigo.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. President. I have 8 items for discussion this evening under finance and budget. The first 2 items are our typical monthly bills and salaries, both for the school district and for the cafeteria. Any discussion on those 2 items? Okay. The third one is a capital project expenditure. It's recommended $47,5450 be paid from Capital Projects Fund 39.
What's that for?
It's tied to the paving project that was done at Economy. There's still work being done.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? Number 4, special counsel. It's recommended that special counsel law offices of Taylor and Elsco be paid $16.75. This is for the filing fees for a possible foundation for the school. So I figured that question might be asked, so I asked myself. Any questions? Okay. And then we have a repository settlement. It's recommended the board approve the sale of property from the Beaver County Repository of Unsold Property for the following properties: 649 Merchant and 540 Merchant, both to Just Catering, Inc. Any discussion on that? Okay. And then number 6 is BVIU 2019-2020 IDEA allocation. And so IDEA stands for Individuals with Disabilities Education Act allocation to the Ambridge Area School District to the amount of $377,479. And then secondly, also accepting funds is the 2018-2019.
You're actually 1920 funds as well. That's
Oh,
a
I'm sorry.
typo.
Okay, so we'll change that for the voting meeting. Accept 2019-2020 allocation of federal 616 IDEA B funds to the Ambridge Area School District in the amount of $44.90. And then finally, number 8, Precision Substitute Teacher Services. It's recommended to increase the salary for a substitute teacher from $95 to $120 per day.
I have a couple questions. I'm going to go back to number 3, the capital project expenditure. That was for the paving project. I thought that was paid for already. Is that?
There's still some drainage issues that we're still waiting to complete, so there's ongoing payments for when they do some of those projects.
Okay.
And some of this might be tied, I think this actual payment is tied to the architect's payment for the project. It's not actually a contract.
And I have another question in regards to when are we going to be getting a budget? I have had several residents contact me in regards to our $1.8 million deficit, and I will tell you.
A budget for next year? We are working on the draft budget, preliminary departments were giving us the budgets right before Christmas break. We're still working on the personnel budget, so we hope to have a draft budget to you by probably early February.
Okay. My other question is, Last board meeting in December, we had an auditor here, give us a report. There were several pages from that report missing. I would like to have a copy of that full report given to me.
As soon as I get it, I'll be happy to
Okay.
forward it to you.
The other thing
You will
is-
get a bound copy once we get it.
I'm still a little uncertain about several things with the budget. We have a $1.8 million deficit. I'm still a little unclear on that. I've had residents ask me, is there a way that we can have you, I would like to see some kind of PowerPoint presentation to break down how everything is, where that money went to, why we have this deficit. I want to be more clear to where the public has a better idea, so they're not asking me, and I can't really give them that answer.
Yeah,
I'm
no
unclear.
problem. Yeah,
Okay.
so we usually do that during the budget workshops that we conduct.
Okay.
So those are
What's-
typical things we do.
So when are you thinking you would have
We
it?
haven't scheduled anything yet because we're still putting the preliminary draft budget together.
so you're
We can
putting
start to
together-
talk about scheduling those whenever.
Don't we have to file the preliminary draft budget?
No, you approved the resolution not to exceed the index for the year. That has been filed with the state already. So you're not required to present a preliminary budget. You only have to present the proposed final budget in May and then the final budget in June. So you revert to the old timeline on budgeting, but we'll have it ready well before then because it's been this board's desire to have several workshops before we approve the final budget.
Can we have some kind of breakdown for the next meeting showing where our $1.8 million deficit is?
Yeah,
and
I
how-
provided something that
Yeah,
to
I
the
was
board
gonna say, I
already.
think
I want
and
that for the public. I know the public wants to see that.
Yeah,
The
I
public
have
has
no
been
problem
asking me
doing
for that, and I would like to see that.
Sure,
Okay.
it's not a problem.
I shoot them an email with that document that you passed out, because that really highlights where the money went.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, moving forward to building and grounds, which is open. There's nothing to report this evening. Moving forward to athletics, Ms. Trimber?
Actually, if I can back up
Sure.
to buildings and grounds, I
Sure.
just wanted to keep you up to date about the fact that we had talked about the ABM project, and I know some of the new board members probably weren't here when we were talking about potential energy savings project. We did issue those RFQs, requests for qualifications. We did receive 3 back, and we are going to be in the process of interviewing those 3 companies sometime by the end of this month. So we'll probably be coming back to you with our recommendation in February to appoint one of those companies, and then we can proceed with the scope of work and the type of things that we want to do.
Okay.
So I just want to let you know that that was continuing on. We hadn't abandoned that, but that's where we are in the process.
All right, thank you, Doug. Moving on to athletics, Ms. Trimber?
We have the boys volleyball team overnight tournament participation request. It's recommended that we approve the high school boys varsity volleyball team to attend the following overnight tournaments: the Northeastern High School in Manchester, March 28, 2020, Central York High School in York, PA, April 18, 2020. Number 2 is the boys wrestling team overnight tournament participation request. It's recommended to approve the high school boys wrestling team to attend the following overnight tournament at West Bronze High School, Morrisdale, PA, January 25th, 2020. And I just want to tell those boys good luck.
Okay. Moving on to public relations, Ms. Gill?
Last month, we talked about the fact that some of the folks who attend meetings have a hard time hearing us, and we were going to look into microphones or some other way to amplify our voices. I'm loud, so I know I'm good.
I'm loud too, I don't know.
But, so that if I haven't seen anything about that, so I'm hoping that that is still on people's radar, that we can look into that. Certainly, if we have people who have taken the time to attend our meetings, we want to make sure that they can hear what we're saying and what we're discussing. And then I also want to make sure that we quickly update and get access to our new board member for email and everything. It took a while for Ms. Trimber and I to have functioning email accounts, so if we can make that happen, and to just urge the residents that our email accounts are all on the website, and you can reach out to us at any time.
June's making a note. She'll get him in the loop tomorrow.
All right, moving on to steering and rules, Mrs. Kehoe?
Item number 1 is policy 137, home education programs. It's a second reading. It is to revise school board policy 137 home education programs to comply with state law and regulations. Are there any questions? Item number 2 is policy 203-1, HIV infection. Also a second reading. It is to provide a safe, healthy environment for students and employees. It is to revise the original policy, which is also 203.1. Any questions on that? Item number 3 is policy 251, homeless students. Second reading, it is to revise the former policy. It's to recognize the need to promptly identify homeless children and youth within the district, facilitate their immediate enrollment, and eliminate existing barriers to their attendance and education in compliance with federal and state laws and regulations. Are there any questions on that one? Item number 4, policy 255, educational stability for children in foster care. It is a second reading. It is to adopt policy 255, educational stability for children in foster care to ensure the educational stability of children in foster care and to collaborate with the local children and youth agency and other school districts. Are there any questions on that? Those policies are available on the district's website if anybody would like to look at them. That's all I have.
Okay, moving on to legislative, Mrs. Kehoe.
There's nothing for discussion this evening.
Okay, can I have the sunshine law, please?
Yes. Section 708 of the Sunshine Law permits agencies to hold executive sessions to discuss employment and personnel matters, labor relations, and arbitration matters, purchase or lease of real estate, up to the time an option or agreement is obtained, litigation or potential litigation, legal matters subject to attorney-client privilege, and other agency business which, if discussed in public, would violate lawful privilege or would violate confidentiality law. The Board of School Directors held and will now hold an executive session to discuss employment and personnel matters, salary schedule and labor relations, matters subject to attorney-client privilege, and litigation matters. The board will not return to take any legislative action.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.